Previously on X-Men.
Jean?
I need the X-Men.
What? Jean?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full X-Men 97 episode 2 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing videos for all the episodes. Be sure to subscribe to get them. Between this and Deadpool and Wolverine with the live-action X-Men coming back, it's going to be a really good time for X-Men fans. We'll be eating good this year. We'll just start at the beginning of the episode, work our way through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs, WTF moments. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. The actual title is Mutant Liberation Begins, which is a reference to Magneto taking over the X-Men team and trying to inspire a more hardcore path for the team. Couple notable changes with the way they changed the intro for the episodes. They finally bring back the classic previously on X-Men. They used to be recited by the Cyclops actor, but this time it's Magneto reciting it.
Previously on X-Men.
Previously on X-Men.
For whatever reason, they chose not to use that during episode 1. I feel like that was a missed opportunity, but it sounds like they'll be using it episode to episode from now on. And when we get to season 2, they'll do it in episode 1 for season 2. They have the same version of the Marvel Studios Marvel Animation intro that they introduced in episode 1, but they made some significant changes to the X-Men intro this time, adding a bunch of scenes. The first big addition is Magneto in his new suit based on the comics. It's from the Trial of Magneto because they literally put him on trial in this episode. It's a big reference to that comic book arc. He also gets to be at the beginning of the intro before Cyclops now because he is leading the team. As they continue to cycle the roster of team members on the X-Men team in future episodes, future seasons, they'll probably continue doing the same thing with the intro where they introduce new scenes in the intro. Really big change from the original intro, which is used the exact same version, except for the later seasons, which introduced a brand new intro, but they would always use the same intro in each season, in each episode. Next big new scene is Storm fighting Callisto and the Morlocks with what look like red lightsabers, like Sith lightsabers. This one is even double-bladed. It looks like Darth Maul's lightsaber. Disney owns Star Wars and Marvel, so it's okay. Nobody's getting sued here. Super deep cut for the live-action X-Men movies, too. If you remember, in X-Men 2000, Ray Park played the Toad character. He'll be back in Deadpool and Wolverine. But back in X-Men 2000, Storm, Halle Berry's version of Storm, blew him up, basically.
You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
Halle Berry is also coming back as her version of Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine, so maybe we'll get a rematch between the two of them, or maybe they appear in completely different scenes. They added a scene of Jean Grey going full Phoenix form because they referenced the Phoenix during the episode. There's a brand new scene of Bishop traveling through time, like he's falling through time here, in Magneto in his Asteroid M base from the original series. The episode starts with an FC News broadcast about a disaster at Coney Island. FC News is from the original series. Notice the last kid that they're trying to save also has a Sony Walkman, just like Star-Lord in the MCU, because we're still in the 90s here. Those were still common at this point, even though CD players, like portable CD players, had been around since the 80s. One of the reasons why you saw people running around with Walkmans still during this period in the 90s is because they were cheaper and they were smaller, so it was easier to fit them in your pockets. They use this scene to basically show Magneto going around saving humans, which is a big turn from his previous arcs in the series where he was all about getting rid of humans, using his powers of magnetism and wearing his new comic book suit. Notice he's not wearing his helmet with this version either. That's just like the comics too. In the comics, his helmet didn't always block telepathy like it does on the series or in the live-action movies. That's actually something that they retconned in later. Notice everyone on the news, like everyone in the government, is just completely flabbergasted. The military doesn't know what to do. Like, what's going on here? He used to want to kill us. Now he's trying to save us? And you start getting reports about Magneto doing this all over the world, and it's all part of the redemption of Magneto. For now, it seems like he's being genuine. They go through this big arc with the X-Men in the episode where Cyclops doesn't believe him. Like, prove yourself. Prove to me that you're trying to turn good.
You have finally realized what I did ages ago. Even Charles Xavier can make a mistake.
But it's all meant to play into Professor X believing that Magneto could be good fundamentally, given the right push. Like, okay, this is going to be your redemption. The X-Men are yours now. Please do good with them. Notice in the Friends of Humanity room here, they got their own Charlie Day meme conspiracy board with a bunch of VHS tapes, old-timey because we're talking about the 90s here. They had a bunch of VHS tapes that they used to promote the series too. So a lot of old-school CRT TV references here too. Some of you watching this might be too young to remember VHS tapes, but they were like the dominant technology before DVDs came along. This character is meant to be Executioner from the Marvel comics. He was a big part of the X-Men comics during a big Cable run, so it's no coincidence that they're introducing him during this part where they're talking about baby Cable. Essentially, he was a normal human who worked with the government and then just bogarted a bunch of alien advanced tech that the X-Men, the FBI had confiscated, using it to attack mutants. He even had a crossover arc with the Punisher. The Punisher is also canon to X-Men the Animated Series, so we might see a Punisher cameo during the season too, but it sounds like a lot of the cameos are actually coming from Morph himself. Very clever way to work in a ton of extra cameos, just having Morph turn into different characters. Basically what he's doing is he's siphoning off the radiation from the control collars that they put on the mutants to suppress their powers and using it to enhance his gun here so that he can try and take away Magneto's powers, permanently take away his powers. It becomes this big thing with Storm later in the episode. Don't worry, I'll talk about her. I am pretty sure, like 99.9% sure, she will get her powers back. There's no way they're going to do Storm dirty like that for the rest of the series. Then they show the Friends of Humanity have just captured Callisto, the Morlocks down in the sewers where they normally live. Magneto saves them, sparing the lives of the Friends of Humanity, as he tells the X-Men later, like, I spared their terrible lives, that's how I'm trying to be good. Normally I would have squished them like bugs. They also use all these early scenes with him, like earlier in the saves and then him saving the Morlocks, to show off some of his powers and just how everything works. He also narrates himself a lot too, mostly for new viewers who didn't watch the original series. Like, hey, remember, I'm Magneto, I have powers of magnetism, this is how they work. When they go back to the X-Mansion, Beast quotes Mark Twain, which is a common thing for him. Like, he quoted famous writers, famous people, philosophers all the time during the original series. Even during the live-action Kelsey Grammer version of Beast, he did that all the time.
We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he who sheds his blood with me this day shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition.
The rest of the X-Men all ponder Magneto's redemption, like, is this meant to be a genuine thing? Like I said, I think that it is meant to be genuine, like he is trying to turn good, but it's his version of turning good, like it's not the Professor X version of good. A much stabbier, more hardcore version of good. Bishop claims he hasn't seen any timelines where Magneto leads the X-Men, so this is totally new to him as well. There's also a lot more Bishop time travel references in the episode, just to foreshadow more future Cable storyline, because Cable will come back as an adult during the series eventually.
This doohickey is an elegant piece of art capable of teleporting someone through time and space.
Magneto sends the Morlocks to Genosha, which we've seen in the trailers. This is where they're going to be doing the Hellfire Gala at some point this season. They did a live-action version of Genosha during X-Men Dark Phoenix. When he shades Professor X and the X-Men for not using his vast wealth, like his many, many hundreds of millions of dollars, to solve the problem of oppressed mutants needing a place to stay, why didn't he use his wealth to send them to Genosha? Would have solved a lot of problems. They actually had a version of this joke in the DC movies with the Flash movie in Batman, where he himself, under the influence of the lasso of truth, confessed that using his vast wealth, his billions of dollars, to solve the problems of crime in Gotham City just in general would be a more effective solution than him being Batman. Magneto's kind of doing the same thing to Professor X here, basically saying that him using his money would have been more effective than using the X-Men team itself to go around fighting people. Jean Grey explains why it's futile for her to try and read Magneto's mind to try and find the truth, because it won't let her know if he's going to change his mind in the future. It's a way of explaining how her powers work and the limitations to her powers. Cyclops declares that at least temporarily they're no longer leaving the team because Magneto's trying to take over. He doesn't trust him, but by the end of the episode he does come around a little bit on him and almost winds up leaving the team until that big cliffhanger with the real version of Jean Grey showing up at the X-Mansion. Like, wait a minute. Don't worry, we'll talk about that because that gets into a lot of Madeline Pryor Goblin Queen stuff, confirming a lot of our theories about what was really going on here with pregnant Jean Grey. Like, oh, that's probably not Jean Grey. We get a Storm and a not Jean Grey heart-to-heart scene reminiscing because obviously this person is Madeline Pryor, not Jean Grey, but she thinks that she's Jean Grey, it seems like. I'll explain who Madeline Pryor is in a second. But at least for this part of the episode, through the birth of baby Cable, they still think that it's Jean, and it seems like she still thinks that she's Jean Grey. When she shows off her suit from the classic comics and says that she hasn't worn this since the blue area of the moon, this is the second version of her comic book suit. She wore this one first, and the whole blue area of the moon fight that she wore it in was from the Phoenix arc from the original episodes. She starts referencing the Phoenix, calling it a malevolent cosmic entity that possessed her. That's why they included the Phoenix scene in the intro. The blue area of the moon is also important because it's where the Watcher's base is on the moon in the Fantastic Four comics. Maybe we'll see some Watcher references during these episodes. Even though X-Men 97 is set in an alternate universe, it would still be canon to the MCU multiverse, meaning that the Watcher from What If would still be able to peep it from his multiverse base. When they talk over her fears about what's going to happen to baby Cable when he grows up, spoiler alert, it's not going to go too well. Most of you know some of Cable's arc from the comics. It gets a little complicated, like the classic X-Men comics with this storyline get a little nutty. But the something terrible that's coming that she senses is probably Mr. Sinister, who seems like he's behind this whole Madeline Pryor baby Cable plot. The whole idea in the comics is that Madeline Pryor was meant to be a clone of Jean Grey created by Mr. Sinister as part of his plans to try and bring about this Omega-level mutant, this prophesy mutant that was supposed to be super powerful that he wanted to get his hands on. So he's obsessed with the bloodline of Cyclops and Jean Grey and wants Cable and creates Madeline Pryor to sort of bring that baby about. This was meant to be during a period when Jean Grey in the comics was thought to have been dead, so Madeline Pryor in the comics didn't think that she was Jean Grey. She was like a completely separate person that just looked exactly like Jean Grey. So maybe they're just changing that a little bit for the X-Men 97 episodes, and Mr. Sinister may have just brainwashed her or given her Jean Grey's memories so she thinks that she's the real Jean Grey. They tease this super spicy rogue Magneto relationship that happened in the past before she joined the X-Men. They do have a relationship in the comics. Most people, when they think of their relationship, think of the Age of Apocalypse storyline in the post-apocalyptic future where they get married and have a son together. She hasn't told any of the rest of the team, even Gambit, about it. It seems like he's kind of picking up, like he gets really pissed off at her during the episode and senses that there's something going on between her and Magneto, so he doesn't know exactly what their history is, but he knows that something is up. It's a long-standing trope when a character on a TV show says you can't tell anybody this secret, that everybody else eventually winds up learning that secret. So by the end of the season, they'll all probably learn what really happened between her and Magneto back in the day. Val shows up to arrest Magneto, put him on trial, like I said, from the comics. It's called the Trial of Magneto. He's wearing the same costume. In this scene, he's meant to look just like that comic book cover. Love the way he uses his powers to turn the helicopters on them too, because you can't make everything without some metal being in it. There's even like a low level of iron in people's bloods, so theoretically his powers could also affect people even just based on that. But like I said, the whole idea, he's not trying to pull a fast one here. There's no long con. He's trying to redeem himself genuinely, so he does surrender and let himself be held on trial. At the trial, he invokes the Holocaust, because this is based on comic book Magneto we're talking about here during the original series, who went through World War II as a child. And really messed up WTF moment from the original series when they had Magneto come back in those first couple of episodes of Season 1. In order to get Magneto to back down, Professor X uses his powers of telepathy to get Magneto to have to relive his memories of the Holocaust. So, like, he had to go through all those terrible memories again just so that he would chill out. There's been a lot of theories about how they're going to adjust this timeline for the newer X-Men live-action movies in the MCU when they start doing those eventually. Like, if they're going to age Magneto down again, so they're going to have to move the timeline forward so that the war he went through and experienced is one of the more modern wars in the real world. When he references them misnaming gods, he's also making a sly reference to mutants being the real living gods on Earth. Then Executioner and the Friends of Humanity attack the trial. Jean Grey also goes into labor back at the X-Mansion, which they play for a joke with Wolverine referencing Apocalypse.
He's here!
Apocalypse?
The baby!
Oh, crap.
Notice how he was not afraid of Apocalypse, but he is afraid of the baby, like, oh crap. Love when she starts ripping his car to pieces with her powers just because of the labor pains. Already explained who the Executioner character is in the comics. His real name is Carl Denty. When he starts attacking Cyclops and the other X-Men, I think this is the first time we've actually seen one of their characters bleed. They might have bled a little bit during the original series, but I think this is new. There was a certain point where broadcast standards got really stringent in the early 2000s, so you started to see less and less of that kind of stuff. Generally, the series is meant to be kind of PG-13. There are a couple cool scenes of Morph transitioning between different characters using their powers, like Lady Deathstrike, then Colossus, then Psylocke using her swords. Back at the hospital, they make a clever use of Rogue's powers, also clarifying exactly how they work, like she can yoink the medical knowledge of how to birth the baby from the doctor. Pretty handy, being able to absorb information and understanding of that information, not just absorbing people's basic powers and abilities. Then Storm eats the blast from the special gun, saving Magneto, but losing her powers in the process. Like I said, I think this is just meant to be temporary, but the way that Beast explains later in the episode is affecting her on a cellular level, so something big is going to have to happen to her to help her regenerate her powers. Then Magneto takes Executioner and the judges and has them dead to rights and explains why he's sparing their lives because he is trying to turn good, using it as a way to convince them that he means what he says. But I love his clever use of puns and how he almost winds up killing them.
Do not make me let you down.
We see the birthed baby Cable. They name him Nathan Charles after Professor X. Technically in the comics, Cable's real name is Nathan Christopher, but on the series I think they used Nathan Charles to reference Professor X, and because Cable's origin story, the whole Madeline Pryor, Mr. Sinister plot is just a little bit different than it was in the original comics. Cyclops and Magneto have a bit of a heart-to-heart where he explains why he's giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like, he doesn't trust Magneto, but he trusts Professor X's judgment, and Professor X trusted Magneto, so he's giving him a pass for now. Also, notice that they have branded X-Men mugs, like the little coffee mugs actually have X-Men symbols on them. You could probably run out and buy that merch right now. Beast starts trying to find a way to restore Storm's powers, but she winds up leaving the team temporarily, sort of going on a walkabout. I'm sure we'll learn where she's going in the next couple of episodes pretty soon. Like, she'll be back on the team eventually. Jean Grey also mentions Muir Island, saying they need their help. In the comics, that was an island where a bunch of X-Men reservists live, extra allies that they could call on for help from the X-Men comics. Notice they have baby Cable in X-Men branded pajamas, like somebody went out and made X-Men pajamas. Just like the X-Men coffee mugs, there are real-life baby X-Men pajamas that you can go out and buy right now if you do have babies yourselves. They tease Rogue's relationship with Magneto again. Gambit definitely seems like he figures out something is up and gets super pissed. And as Storm leaves, the real Jean Grey shows up at the X-Mansion with a big cliffhanger like, wait a minute, we thought that you were Jean... Like, what's going on? Like, even Madeline Pryor over here in the background seems like she's surprised to see her, like she didn't know that she was not Jean Grey. So what'll probably happen is we'll learn what's really going on in the next episode, in the episode after that, where like the real Jean Grey explains what happened to her. She was probably held captive by Mr. Sinister, who experimented on her, used her DNA to create the Jean Grey clone, Madeline Pryor. He's also meant to be the main villain of Season 1, so I think that's why they kind of waited after the first couple of episodes to introduce his character again, or reintroduce his character. Fun fact too, in real life, they're making a new X-Men reboot movie with new actors eventually in the next couple of years. The main villain of that movie, at least right now, is supposed to be live-action Mr. Sinister, a big villain they haven't done in live-action yet. The closest we've come to seeing live-action Mr. Sinister was in the X-Men Apocalypse post-credit scene for Essex Corp because his real name is Nathaniel Essex. They were going to pay off that scene by having live-action Mr. Sinister show up during the Channing Tatum Gambit movie, so it was meant to be like a Gambit post-credit scene even though it was Mr. Sinister they were referencing. Supposedly, he's also supposed to be in Deadpool and Wolverine, Channing Tatum as a version of Gambit, even though that movie got canceled, like they never wound up making it. It is really funny to see all this X-Men stuff happening, like all of these Easter eggs coming together. A lot of what's happening in Deadpool Wolverine, though, is meant to pay off things that either happened or did not happen and were supposed to happen in the X-Men movies when they were still at Fox. But if there's any other Easter eggs or references during episode 2 that you spotted that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. In my full episode 3 video we'll post next week after they release it. Big reminder, it's one episode per week through episode 10, the finale. There's a bunch of big trailers coming in the next couple of days. I'll try to do videos for everything. And we have Invincible Season 2, Episode 6. So be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that stuff. Everybody click here for my full X-Men 97 Episode 1 video. And click here to learn about Henry Cavill coming to the Marvel Universe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.